Unless you've been living under a rock, you would have heard about the Apple Vision Pro VR headset, or spatial computer as Apple would like us to call it. On the positive side, this product is incredible. It combines 12 cameras, 5 sensors, 2 chips, 6 microphones, 2 screens with greater than 4K resolution to create one of the most advanced pieces of consumer technology almost ever. Rumor in the tech circles is that it's actually a Horcrux, with the magic ingredient being a small piece of Tim Cook's soul. I'm kidding, or am I? But with all the excitement, the one question that keeps coming up is why the hell is it so expensive? Most people can't believe that Apple has launched a product that costs a mind-bending, wallet-burning $3,500, which is further amplified by the fact that it costs more than 10 times the competitor, which is Meta's Quest 2 retailing at about $300, or even the Quest Pro, which is aimed at corporates and businesses, is around $1,000. So what's so special about Apple's headset that we need to spend more on glasses than we do our rent? Is there a logic to all of this? Well, I think there is, and I'm going to explain it to you today. My name is Akshay Goenka, and let's get straight to it. VR headsets are not a new concept by any stretch of imagination. It was first conceptualized almost 100 years ago by American science fiction writer Stanley Weinbaum, who presented a fictional model for VR in his story Pygmalion Spectacles, described as goggles that enable a movie that gives sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. 20 years later, a cinematographer, Morton Hellig, created Sensorama, the first VR machine which was the size of a large booth, and the first mainstream version of the small goggles form factor that we see today was released by a startup called Oculus Rift, which debuted them in 2012 and was promptly acquired by Facebook, or Meta as they are now called, which gave it the first proper momentum to make it a mass consumer technology in the form of Meta's Quest VR headsets that they sell today. The Quest currently has a consumer version called the Quest 2 and the Quest 3, which was just released, which are basically virtual reality gaming headsets which combine a headset with 2 game controllers that let the user play games. Sony's PSVR is a similar VR headset, and almost all major technology companies are developing or have released VR products mainly focused on gaming. So when Apple's rumored VR headset was being talked about, many people assumed that it'll be on similar lines, a headset with maybe remote controllers and some gaming and entertainment options. But little did the world know that they weren't just going to get a better VR headset, they were going to witness the birth of a new form of computing. From the desktop to the laptop to the tablet to the mobile, the computer has moved form factors and portability over the last 2 decades. But this product, the Apple Vision Pro VR, is definitely the next frontier of computing. And that makes up the first key reason why it's so much more expensive and not really like the competition. Apple just opened up the aperture and built not just a better VR headset for gaming, but an alternative to laptops and mobile phones that could one day become the way we work and the way we live. They developed a completely new operating system called the Vision OS that hosts all of Apple's apps from Safari to FaceTime to Mail to Photos, just like your iPhone, but on the headset. It's also working with developers, and by this time next year, you could quite possibly be able to use it for watching YouTube videos, checking Instagram, using Zoom and Slack and Teams at work, making PPTs, and basically doing anything at all that you currently do on your laptop or your phone. Second, it has way more advanced tech than other VR headsets. And I'm being conservative when I say way more. I mean like way
2,000 years later.
It has light years ahead of its competition. First, they basically took 12 cameras, 5 sensors, 2 chips, 6 microphones, and added them to James Bond's ski goggles. I'm kidding, just look at this thing, man. It looks so slick. It's totally worth of 007. There's a whole new security system called Optic ID, which is like Touch ID or Face ID on the iPhone, but for your eyes. They've developed a video pass-through technology where it appears to be transparent and you can see the user's eyes as if it is transparent. So it feels natural to interact with them and it doesn't feel like you're looking at a bunch of plastic. But the whole thing is actually a video on the OLED screen at the front of the device. They've managed to stuff 2 screens on the inside, one for each eye, that each have greater than 4K resolution. So even though you're so close to the screen, you see the richest, sharpest image with no pixels. It uses the incredibly powerful M2 chip that powers the latest MacBook, and they also developed an entirely new R1 chip which, supported by an AI algorithm, takes care of all the real-time processing that lets it be lightning fast in response to things like when your eyes are looking at a certain app. It has 5,000 nits of peak brightness to help you have the best viewing experience in movies and videos. By comparison, the Meta Quest 2 only has 100 nits, and even the PSVR only has about 250 nits. So Apple's VR is at least 20 times more bright than its competition. Finally, they managed to bring down latency that's faster than the blink of an eye, and that, they claim, helps significantly reduce the motion sickness problems that most people feel when using VR headsets, which typically limit limit their use in the longer term. Apple invented an entirely new interaction mechanism that is light years ahead of anything that we've seen. Watch what Robin from ABC News has to say about the interaction experience here.
I would live here. That alone. Oh my goodness, that was... I need the emoji, mind blown.
This is because in most other headsets like the Meta Quest and the PlayStation VR, they come with game controllers that require you to click buttons or joysticks to navigate. This works fine if you're playing games in your bedroom, but for this to be a proper computer, it's quite clunky and cumbersome and much slower than using the touchscreen on your iPhone or your mouse on the laptop or desktop, making it a suboptimal experience. Imagine for a second that you didn't have a mouse on your laptop and you had to click the arrow buttons every time you wanted to do something. How frustrating would that be? Well, it so happens that that's exactly how using a controller on a VR computer would feel. Slowly clicking across icons until you get to where you want. Apple just completely reinvented this interface, and it's something that they've done many times before. For example, for the same problem I just described, which is needing to navigate a computer with a keyboard only, Apple actually invented the mouse pointer in an early version of the Mac. When MP3 music players started to get a bit popular in the early 2000s, Apple realized that this was just too clunky to click up and down buttons to scroll through a long list of songs. So it invented the now iconic click wheel on the iPod. It did it again when it released the iPhone. And for the first time ever, they developed a technology for the touchscreen that you could navigate with your fingers, because that was the most natural way to point and click. And now with the Apple VR Vision Pro, it's once again used the most natural pointing device that all of us have, our eyes and also our hands. Early reviews from folks who got a demo at the WWDC, like Marques Brownlee, who's also called MKBHD, tell us that it's incredibly fast and accurate. Watch him talk about it right here.
And feels like magic.
Like I normally don't call tech things sort of magical or surreal like this, but this was, even for a pre-release product, kind of unbelievable how well it does.
Moving around the windows, I had messages pulled up, FaceTime, Safari is so easy. You just look at the bottom bar, you grab it, you move it. You can move it in the X or Y space, the Z space, and it works so well. So I was actually very surprised by the intuitiveness of it.
You've watched MKBHD before. It's not often that he calls something magic, so it must be really, really special. This is a premium product built of premium materials, not like the plasticky VR sets out there. Just look at this thing, man. It's a vibe. It's made out of one massive piece of three-dimensionally formed laminate glass, precision molded onto lightweight aluminum frame with custom fits and a tight seal to keep any stray light from coming into your eyes, and a soft frame that looks a lot like the top of the AirPods Max, which is supported by a breathable 3D knitted headband at the back for cushioning and a comfortable stretch. We know from experience that Apple doesn't compromise on premium materials in any of their products. So, how does this explain the price? And why is it so much higher than the Meta Quest? Well, it's probably wrong to even compare it with the likes of the Quest, since we can all call them both VR headsets, but that's where the similarity ends. The Quest is a plastic VR gaming device that has two joysticks and a screen inside. The Apple Vision Pro, on the other hand, is an entirely new computer. In the future, it can theoretically replace your laptop, your television, and your headphones at the bare minimum, which is probably between $2,000 and $3,000 combined, and even more if they're Apple branded products. So, at the least, their view is that when you buy it, you're justifying the price as replacing those three items. Now, let's talk about what it costs to make. As per one leak, the build cost of this thing was estimated to be almost $1,500. And add to that the R&D cost of a new operating system, a new chip, new screens, new sensors, new cooling system, and we're probably running into billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. That helps explain the high price tag. And remember, this is a first generation product, and the price will inevitably come down as they release future generations. And just like the iPhone SE and the Watch SE, I'm sure one day there'll be a Vision SE for like $500 that's aimed at mass consumers. But for now, it looks like Apple is launching the product soon enough for early tech adopters, business and pro users, and most importantly, third-party developers to help them shape what this product can truly be. Just like the first generation iPhone that didn't do as well because it was too new for most people to pay for, didn't even have the App Store, it didn't even have 3G built in. This product has its compromises with a 2-hour battery life, no SIM connectivity, no non-Apple apps, and a crazy high price. But if we've learned anything from Apple's past, it's that they've once again managed to create an entirely new category of product that will eventually be used by billions of people across the globe as if it was second nature. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Do subscribe to get more amazing news on tech and life, and why not watch the next one on the reason why the Apple Vision Pro will probably be a failure. See you there.